For the longest time, I used to imagine that my life is a movie. Every action was carefully rehearsed, and every word closely learned, as if I was acting out the scene and there was a camera rolling somewhere behind me. In a way, it made everything I did performative and perhaps fake, but it helped me make sense of a world I live in for the first time. Hence, I got my bachelor's at film school. Besides exams and studying, my time there was filled with intrigues, rumors, hatred, solitude, and a couple of injustices, allegedly. For worse or better, it made me everything that I am today. Critical, determined, and prepared, yet insecure in a weird way. There may be two types of people in this world, but filmmakers are their own breed. They are stubborn, snobbish, and cynical, and these are some of their good characteristics. Thankfully, while working on a couple of projects, I managed to make friends with like-minded members of this society. One of those remarkable people is my friend, Caroline. She is a directress in her mid-20s who studied film in England and the type of person who's outstandingly talented yet humble about it. I guess I should say we differ in this regard. Lately, she's become one of the most influential people in my life, and I often find myself strictly implementing her advice. But despite the fact that everyone supported my decision to move away, Caroline was the only one who outright asked me to stay. It makes me think, what if I had listened to her? Perhaps I would have continued living with my parents, occasionally leaving the house like I'm on parole acting as my own officer. But now, I'll be a tourist no more, and my Roman holiday will become a Roman way of life. But through my insecurity, I've lived in doubt. Doubt that after all the studying I did at film school and all the independent movies I've worked on, I still lack skills and credibility to call myself a sound designer. Caroline always seeks something new to learn. As she's still establishing herself, she's unafraid to take on even the smallest or most insignificant gigs because they allow her to experiment. She doesn't seem to doubt herself and maintains certainty that she'd finish the project she's working on.
I'm at various stages of the different projects and I never know which one is exactly where. And I'm just looking for new opportunities for music videos, especially because music videos develop your instrument as a filmmaker in general, and you can try out so many different things. So I really like that, and I've been trying to do more of them. But I've always wanted to know, since I was 12, I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I didn't actively have the means to actually, shoot stuff on my own. So when I got into it, I started from the very zero. And because something that I've noticed is that in the beginning for me is always very difficult. It takes me twice as long as it takes other people to reach a certain point of excellency. But once I reach it, it's easier for me to progress, if it makes sense. And I actually discovered that I'm doing stuff better and better every time. So for some people, it's a process, and you learn and you become better with time.
So you finished your bachelor's in England.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did you decide to study there, and what was your time there like?
Well, I've always wanted to just study there. I've always known I wanted to live in England. I don't know why. But I have to say that kind of going there wasn't really a smooth sailing. It was kind of difficult because it took me some time to step on my feet back again, I guess.
How did you get invested in films, and when did you start wanting to make films, and how did you get into filmmaking?
Well, I guess it's a fairly conventional route because I was just most of the people from my family are from like a teaching background, and we didn't go to the cinema a lot when I was growing up, but we were reading a lot of books. So I always liked, like doing stuff with my imagination, and I loved writing, and I really loved putting on plays for my family. And one day when I was about 10, I saw this film, and it was an Italian film. I don't remember what the name is. And the film is very contained and very naturalistic, I'd say. But I don't know, it kind of like touched me in a way no other film has ever done. Just the fact that here we had like two elderly people in their like, let's say 70s, and that seemed very sweet to me. And I was like, oh, I want to make sweet stories too, and like kind of like, I don't know, help people realize things about their lives too. And yeah, I started thinking about that. And actually, there was a team that made that Italian film that made such a huge impression on me. And I was like, oh, maybe I will become one of those people. And I was like, I'll just become a director. And I didn't really know what a director was at that point. So I went to my mom and I told her, and she was horrified. But like, I've always known I wanted to do something interesting and have a life that's unlike other people's lives, like something incredible. And actually, like, I've been thinking recently that if my younger self was to see me now, she would be very proud, probably. Like, I would be very happy with where I am now. When you turn back, at least one day when you're like dying, I guess you're not going to be like, oh, I wasted my whole life just kind of like chilling. I'm not saying that it's bad, but like.
But did you wind up exactly the way you imagined as a child?
No, I expect to be more famous for my first film, yeah.
So, other than the movie that basically turned your interest towards filmmaking, what are your other memorable and significant examples of films you've watched? And
apart from Twilight.
And also, what impressed you in your childhood that led to choosing directing? Because directing is very connected to, I think, observing. You're constantly observing and watching what people do so you can recreate it later.
Yeah, well, I've always been very curious about like other people, and I really loved watching them and kind of like taking notes on them, even when I was a child. And I don't really know why. Like it started with Twilight, but then as a grown up, you realize that there's like a whole lore behind that, and vampires are just like such a representation of like human fears and the way our relationship with others works. So they've always been very curious to me, and I love all like stuff from the vampire genre. I really love films about like character studies, about really like people who are going through something. But a film that really made an impression on me, and I still think about it very often, in 2015 I saw Macbeth by Justin Kurzel. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's very beautiful. I was literally like flabbergasted. I was mind blown when I saw that. It was so beautiful, and just the combination between like the music and the visuals and everything was like so transcendental. And I was like, oh my god, like I want to make films like that. And films can be like such an artistic medium, because like a lot of the films I'd seen before that were just like stuff that people my age tend to see. Like, of course, I've looked for stuff on the internet and I'd seen like the classics, let's say like Taxi Driver, but I don't know, like, do you feel the same? It's like sometimes those classic films everyone loves are not your favorite films. Like, you can appreciate them for their craftsmanship and for what they are, but you just don't like feel a connection to them.
Mm-hmm. So do you sort of see through a camera lens the entire world? Would you say that
I don't know.
You're constantly imagining like you're a shot from a film?
I mean, I don't imagine as if seen from a viewfinder, but like sometimes I look at stuff around me and I'm like, oh, this would be very cinematic, and it's usually like stuff that other people don't really like. But sometimes I feel like the camera can't really translate the beauty of things you see in real life, so that's kind of sad to me.
Yeah, I think that's the talent of the cinematographer.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy those kind of films that make you change your entire personality? Are you one of those people who go into the cinema themselves?
Yes, I change my personality. I do change my... I mean, My music playlist kind of like changes after each film I see because I'm kind of
Uh-huh.
influenced by the mood of the film in general. I mean, not every time. Sometimes I find particular films to be kind of like very dull or like they just don't really um,
Well,
appeal to
yeah, of
me.
course you can't enjoy every film that you
Yeah,
watch.
but sometimes they have an impact on me. And I kind of like listen to music that kind of makes me think of that film.
What inspires you to create and to start making a project?
I don't
What
know.
turns it into
It's
a movie?
a lot of times I have an idea, and during the process of development, I listen to a lot of music to kind of like help me find the emotional tone I'm kind of going for. And I like watching films that kind of inspire me with a similar vibe that helps from the things I've done. There are projects that are very like close to me in terms of I guess experiences I've lived through. There are projects that have nothing to do with my personal experience, but these are just like topics I've been interested in. I'm completely convinced that in a way every project you make is kind of like a reflection of who you are in your experiences in general as a person and your thoughts.
How do you manage intrusive thoughts and fear of rejection and criticism when you're releasing your work to the public?
Um, I think you're always anxious, especially before screening, because you don't know how people are going to respond or if they're going to laugh at the jokes that are in the film or if they're going to, be emotional at those like spots where it's supposed to like, be um, more emotional. But I guess it becomes easier over time. Like, of course, the first screenings are very difficult and you're very nervous. And with each new project, you gain a new type of confidence. So
And
that's quite interesting. Like,
even now, as I'm watching films that were made lately,
yeah,
I'm noticing that the tendency is to have dialogue only in the sound of a production.
yeah,
I don't hear footsteps, I don't hear sound effects, I barely hear any ambience. There's just dialogue and music, sometimes dialogue with music with a singer. I think that in this conveyor belt type of working, it's inevitable to sort of compromise and skip over some components, but I think that there are productions that cannot afford that. They can't afford to not have footsteps or sound effects, because it wouldn't have made any sense and would have made the film unbearable to watch.
yeah. I do agree completely. And sometimes I think that like smaller productions are the ones that cannot afford the luxury of not having a good sound design, because obviously when you have limited resources, you don't really have that kind of like spectacle on screen you get sometimes with like visual effects or like big like action scenes. You have to like be very like careful about the sound design because it really immerses the people who are watching the film.
So, what are your dreams and goals as a director now? How do you envision your career in the future?
I think my dream ultimately would be to make stuff I care about. I'm not someone who's too picky. Like, I like different mediums. Obviously dream of making films, but I would love to do ads because I think they're so cool and you can make so many like cool things if you're allowed to. And I love music videos. And I guess what I'm looking forward to most is like maybe doing the first feature film, but in the meantime I'm like trying to prepare at least a few more short films because they're just as exciting, and I think you learn about how to compress a story and can like make it cohesive in just a few minutes. I mean, I say a few minutes, but all my films are like 15 plus minutes.
Do you want to be a well-known director, as in personality, or you want your films to be well-known?
Unfortunately, I feel like in the current landscape, you have to also be known because like there's so much like media content around us that people just don't care whether stuff is good. They care about the names that are attached to it, which is very sad. And I've been really sad about it because, you know, for actors, they're looking at how many followers they have, and it's the same with like other crew members as well. Like people are like putting popularity over quality. But yeah, I would love to be known for the, I don't know, singularity of the stuff I make, I guess. That would make me happy. That's what I want. I want to make as much stuff as possible. Like, I want to make stuff all the time.
How do you define success?
Oh, that's such a difficult thing. I have no idea. I don't like. I'm trying to define it for myself. And I've been trying for a very long time, but I don't know. I guess before I used to think that growing up successful means obviously you're very good at your job and everyone knows who you are and you're given opportunity everywhere you go. And now I'm kind of like leaning more towards what's the John Lennon quote about the importance of happiness. Like maybe successful means that you're just happy and kind of like content with yourself and with what you're doing, because sometimes like I think I'm so proud of what I did, but it doesn't really make me happy. So you know, what's the point of like having a lot of money? And sometimes you have all of those things and you still feel unhappy and you can't really put your finger on like what the problem is and how to fix it. So I just kind of think calmness of mind, that would be like success for me.
And do you think of your work as successful, or do you consider it just part of your path towards success?
Honestly, I don't know if it's up to me to say that, but I guess people would know if in the end I turn out to be a good filmmaker that, I don't know, like leaves some legacy behind. But I would never know because I'll probably be dead. So at that point, I wouldn't care at all. So, you know, like, didn't you feel that like in the beginning you have to like prove yourself a lot and you never know if you're good or not, because obviously our work is kind of like subjective. So always trying to like be the best.
The beginning for me was in film school, and my first work as a sound designer was exceptionally great, and then everything else was so bad compared to it.
I mean, I have to say that for me it was the opposite. My very first work was horrible. It's good to have discipline in your work, and I think ultimately that's the thing that prevails, and because it really ensures the longevity of a filmmaker and of a creator or any professional for that matter. Like, and you have to like put your priorities straight, because sometimes you have to, you know, put some stuff at the back burner in order to like do your like current projects you're trying to do. And I recently saw an interview with Rafael Nadal, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't do any sacrifices. What are you talking about? I was just like doing what I love." So I guess if you really love what you do, you don't really feel like you're sacrificing that much in order to do it. But you have to like be serious about it, because many people want the result, but they don't want to like put in the effort.
The older I got, the more I grew out of my pretense that I live in a Truman Show kind of film set. It just became counterproductive, and I had to choose between reality and imagination. But I accidentally ended up opening a trapdoor right beneath my feet instead, unfortunately falling too far out of reach from my own fantasy, which has me struggling to reach back to it to this day. Creativity gives me purpose, but I need to put myself in the context that even if I'm not the best, I'm still working, which means I'm not the worst. In fact, it apparently doesn't matter. I should be both my biggest critic and number one fan, because my own validation matters the most. But self-validation doesn't guarantee consistency, and sometimes ambition just isn't motivating enough. Procrastination plagues me like a seasonal flu I keep postponing getting the vaccine for. Maybe I allow myself too much free time, which is why I want to ask my overachiever friend Nina next time I see her if she feels exhausted keeping track of her full schedule. I need to add that to my calendar for next week.